Hey guys, tonight as promised, HBO unveiled the long-awaited premiere date of Game of Thrones Season 8 and a new teaser. The Crypts of Winterfell delivers dark hints of things to come for House Stark, and confirms that Season 8 will hit our TV screen starting on April 14th, 2019. It's just a teaser, this sequence will not be in Season 8, but nonetheless it's quite important. It foreshadows fates of some main characters, such as Jon Snow surviving the events of Game of Thrones. It also seems to be foreshadowing some main events that are yet to come, such as the Starks and the Living retreating north, rather than south after they lose battle for Winterfell against the Night King, and much more. Teaser includes Jon passing his mother's Lyanna's and his uncle's Ned statues with their voices over, Sansa passing her mother's Cat statue with Cat's voiceover, followed by Arya. All three met in the middle and are confronted by statues of themselves. It's very interesting that Bran is not there. Arya's statue is holding the needle, Sansa is looking like the Lady of Winterfell, and Jon Age's statue bears his now signature scar. All three turn around and the cold mist rolls over Lyanna's feather. Jon and Arya draw their swords, Longclaw and Needle, and there it is, the Season 8 premiere date, April 14th. Another interesting thing to me is that these exact 3 living and 3 dead members of House Stark are chosen for this teaser. It could have been Robb's or Rickon's statue there instead of Cat's or Lyanna's, but it wasn't. It was Ned's, Lyanna's and Cat's. It could have been Bran Stark in this teaser instead of one of these 3, but it wasn't. It was Jon, Sansa and Arya, and when you look at it, it makes perfect sense. Here we have 6 characters, 3 dead, 3 alive, but it's actually 3 in total. In other words, it's said over and over that Jon looks and acts like Ned Stark. Arya looks and acts like Lyanna. Sansa looks and acts like Cat. Another interesting thing here is the feather. No, it being the Raven's feather doesn't mean it's Bran Stark's vision, because remember, this sequence will not be the part of the final season, it's just made up for this teaser and this teaser only. However, this same feather has been seen multiple times throughout the series. In the 4th episode of the 5th season, while visiting the Stark family crypts, beside relighting the candles, Sansa also picks up the feather of the floor, which is the same feather that Robert Baratheon placed in the hand of a statue of Lyanna in the very first episode of the series, which is the same feather we see in this teaser. Does it mean something? It could be seen as a supporting evidence of a theory I'm going to talk about in a minute. The theory about Jon Snow learning the truth in the Crypts of Winterfell through a hidden object Ned left for Jon. Back to the teaser. As already said, keep in mind that it's not an actual footage from an episode, but just something made up specifically for the teaser. This may not be an actual footage of the final season, but make no mistake, there's a lot of foreshadows happening. It's a very well done teaser, but it left fans terrified about what it might be foreshadowing. Some believe it's foreshadowing Sansa becoming the queen and Arya and Jon will die protecting her. Others claim it's foreshadowing that Bran is the only Stark who survives, since Bran doesn't have a statue. How I see it is that these statues of Jon, Sansa and Arya are their actual statues after their death. However, not all of them will die in Season 8 and not all these statues will be seen during Season 8. Just take a look at Jon's statue for a second. If this teaser foreshadows something, it's that Jon Snow will survive the Game of Thrones and live until the very old age. Notice how Jon on his statue looks aged, old. In my opinion, Jon's statue doesn't foreshadow him dying in the final season as some would assume, but just the opposite, it foreshadows Jon surviving the events of Game of Thrones and living for many more years, which comes as a good news. On the other side, Arya and Sansa look young on their statues, which might foreshadow that their fates are sealed, and they won't survive the final season, or at least not long after. Now let's see how this teaser might be foreshadowing another major event. At this point, it's known that episode 3 of Season 8 will see an epic battle between the living and the dead for Winterfell, and the living will lose. Most will die and Winterfell will be left burned down and in ruins. Most of us thought the living would then retreat south to form a new line of defense at other formidable castles, such as the Eyrie or even King's Landing, but this teaser might be hinting just the opposite. To me, it seems the Starks and living might retreat north to the Wall rather than south after they lose the battle for Winterfell. But how, you might ask? They would not make it 10 feet past the Winterfell gates, not to mention all the way to the Wall with the Night King's army surrounding it. You might be wrong because there are ways, as we learned from Maester Luwin in Season 1. There are hidden passageways built so the Lords of Winterfell could escape in emergency, and Maester Luwin actually offered Theon to use it to escape Winterfell and join the Night's Watch when Ramsay came. That hidden passage might be this tunnel Arya is passing through. The question that comes to mind is why the Crypts of Winterfell are so prominently featured throughout the show and throughout this teaser. Yes, it's very important for the Starks as it contains the tombs of the members of House Stark, but there must be more than that, especially with it being so prominently featured in this teaser. What does it mean for the final season and what importance does it hold? In this teaser, it echoes Jon's recurring dreams about something calling him in the crypts below Winterfell that he has in the books. In the very first novel, in A Song of Ice and Fire, while at Castle Black, Jon Snow tells Sam that he sometimes dreams of the crypts. Jon says that he walks deeper in the crypts, but is afraid of what he will find within them and awakens every time the crypts become too dark. Jon says to Sam that he knows he has to go down there, but he doesn't want to, as he's afraid of what might be waiting for him. It's quite a popular theory that Jon will learn the truth behind his parentage, and Game of Thrones is basically preparing the ground for it to take place in the Crypts of Winterfell. In this theory, Ned hid Rhaegar's harp under Winterfell with intention for Jon to find it someday, and he hid it in Jon's own tomb. Basically, Ned will fulfill his last promise he's ever given. He will tell Jon Snow who his mother and father are, although not literally. Sure, Bran could share what he saw in his vision, or Howland Reed could tell him the truth, but the only way for the revelation to have its full effect is for Jon to discover it on his own, which brings us to the Crypts of Winterfell. The crypts have been included in both the books and the show, which along with all the scenes that took place over there in the show and with all Jon's dreams and visions about it in the books has led many people to believe that there's something about them of a high significance to the upcoming plot. The crypts are located below Winterfell and that contain the tombs of the members of House Stark are massive and are larger than the entire castle complex above ground, and not only would it be a perfect place to hide something just because it's huge, but it's also the last place someone will look for. Another reason why someone would hide something so important in the crypts is because there are not many people visiting. There are only a very few people that are visiting the crypts, which this scene from the 4th episode of the 5th season is confirming. As we can see while visiting the Stark family crypts, beside relighting the candle, Sansa also picks up the feather of the floor, which is the same feather that Robert Baratheon placed in the hand of a statue of Lyanna in the very first episode of the series. There's most certainly a high possibility that Ned took something from the Tower of Joy, something related to the truth about Jon's parentage, and hid it in the crypts. Rhaegar's harp might be one of, if not the only object that Rhaegar might have left in the Tower of Joy with his beloved Lyanna Stark. Not only did Lyanna enjoy listening Rhaegar playing harp, but he also most likely did not carry his harp while marching in the war. There's also one fact that is going in favor to this theory, which is there has not been mention of Rhaegar's harp during or after Robert's rebellion. It might be implying that Rhaegar, beside leaving his best friend and the greatest fighter the Seven Kingdoms has ever seen to protect Lyanna and their unborn son, Rhaegar also most likely left his harp with Lyanna in the Tower of Joy, as a symbol for Lyanna of his love towards her and promise to return. However, upon Rhaegar's death during the Battle of the Trident and upon Lyanna's death in the hands of Ned at the Tower of Joy, it's possible that Ned took Rhaegar's harp along with Lyanna's corpse and hid it somewhere in the Crypts of Winterfell. If Ned truly did hide Rhaegar's harp under Winterfell with intention for Jon to find it someday, I would place my bet on a tomb no one knew existed, Jon Snow's tomb. As a bastard, Jon doesn't get a tomb on his own in the crypts, so Ned would have had one made for Jon in secret. We know that Ned had his empty tomb already prepared before his death. In fact, we are told that there are numerous empty, unsealed tombs prepared for not only Ned, but also for his children. In the books, Jon often dreams of the Crypts of Winterfell, in which he sees statues of Kings of Winter watching him as he passes them. Jon sees the stone Stark King's eyes following him as they tell him he doesn't belong there, which could imply that Jon is in fact already given a place. Additionally, Ned has a similar dreams of the crypts as Jon, which could be a hint that he's angered the old Kings of Winter by giving Jon a place, even though he is not a Stark but rather a Targaryen. I believe that tomb was prepared for Jon in the Winterfell crypts, hidden away in the lower levels. Inside will be Rhaegar's harp and the crown of winter roses Rhaegar laid on Lyanna's lap at the tourney at Harrenhal, when he crowned her Queen of Love and Beauty. In case you're wondering, did not Ned have to keep Jon's parentage a secret, as he promised to his sister? Or did Ned have the stonemason killed after this one made a tombstone for Jon? The answer is no. In fact, the answer lies in the conversation between Tywin and Arya in Season 2 Episode 7. In that scene, not knowing who Arya truly is, believing she's the daughter of stonemason from the north, Tywin was surprised when she told him that her alleged stonemason father taught her how to read. Tywin said he was a well-read stonemason. Can't say I've ever met a literate stonemason. There is no literate stonemason, and Ned did not take any risk by making Jon Snow his own tomb with his true name Aegon Targaryen on it. In conclusion, the crypts have been included in both the books and the show, which along with all the scenes that took place over there in the show and with all Jon's dreams and visions about it in the books, give us a reason to believe it will play a major role in a huge revelation for Jon. How awesome would it be if Ned turns out to be the one to reveal Jon the truth? Ned Stark is Oathkeeper, he's a man of his word, and if he says he'll do something, he'll do it. And that's why I believe Ned will fulfill the last promise he's ever given. Ned will talk with Jon about his mother. Ned will reveal the truth to Jon Snow through a letter that is hidden in Jon's secret tomb, with his real name written on it. Inside it will be Rhaegar's harp and Lyanna's crown of winter roses, revealing to Jon his true parentage, or at least that's how I'd like to see it. This teaser could be foreshadowing many things, but in my opinion foreshadows just one for sure. Jon Snow survives the Game of Thrones and rules, or just lives until the very old age, as aged Jon on his statue seems to be hinting. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe to our channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.